Welcome back to NASCAR World News. Denny Hamlin had the equipment, he had the laps led, he had the race lead with 2 laps remaining, and then in roughly 30 seconds of absolute pure chaos, everything dissolved right through his fingers once again at Kansas Speedway. If you follow NASCAR with any regularity, you already recognize this particular feeling. Hamlin dominates, Hamlin leads, Hamlin loses. And this time, the finish ignited crew chief Chris Gale, stirred the ongoing drama with Kyle Busch directly back to the surface, and dropped one more devastating statistic onto a growing mountain of overtime heartbreaks. Let us walk through exactly what unfolded Sunday afternoon at the Advent Health 400. Hamlin was the undeniable story of this race. From the very moment the green flag dropped, he and Tyler Reddick exchanged aggressive door-to-door contact early, actually making physical contact on lap 2 before Hamlin muscled his way to the front. From that point forward, the number 11 Toyota was simply on another level entirely. Hamlin led 75 of the opening 80 laps and claimed stage 1 in genuinely dominant fashion. By the time the afternoon concluded, he had paced the field for 131 total laps, more than any other competitor on the property. The truly remarkable element of this race was how incredibly clean the entire event ran. There was not a single natural caution thrown throughout the entire afternoon. Nobody wrecked, nobody spun under green flag conditions. Pure side-by-side racing, lap after lap after lap. All 37 cars that rolled to the starting grid were still circulating when the final laps arrived, and then everything completely unraveled across the final 3 circuits. With 10 laps remaining, Reddick hunted down Hamlin and seized the lead away from him, but then the number 45 Toyota began sputtering badly. Reddick was forced to switch over to his backup fuel pump, and Hamlin immediately threaded back around him with 3 laps showing on the board. Hamlin looked every bit like a man headed straight to victory lane. He confirmed as much himself when speaking to reporters after the race concluded. "Even when the 45 got around me, I felt genuinely confident I was going to reclaim the position on the final lap if I had not already done so," Hamlin explained. He made critical errors coming to 2 laps to go that allowed us to capitalize on the situation, and from that moment forward, I understood that complete chaos was coming one way or another. He was absolutely correct about the chaos part arriving. Just before Hamlin could receive the white flag signaling 1 lap remaining, Cody Ware spun his car on the apron. Caution, flag, overtime restart. Chris Gale, Hamlin's crew chief, was completely devastated by the timing. "I genuinely hated for every single one of our guys," Gale expressed afterward. "I believed we had a tremendous race car underneath us. We were sitting in perfect position, and then you experience the complete emotional swing of watching the 45 run out of fuel and then immediately getting this caution thrown at the worst possible moment. Somehow, Cody Ware could not have spun just 1 single lap later. It is an incredibly tough situation to swallow." Now, here is precisely where Hamlin faced his most consequential decision of the entire afternoon. As the race leader heading into the overtime restart, he held the privilege of selecting his preferred lane. He chose the bottom groove. That decision proved to be the wrong one. At least, that's the unavoidable conclusion looking back at what followed. Reddick lined his car up directly on Hamlin's outside. Larson positioned himself immediately behind Hamlin on the inside of row 2. When the green flag flew, Larson rocketed aggressively to the bottom lane, cleared him completely. Hamlin found himself violently squeezed through the middle lane with nowhere to escape, brushed the outside retaining wall, made direct contact with his own Joe Gibbs racing teammate Christopher Bell in the process, and faded helplessly all the way back through the running order to a 4th place finish. Crew chief Chris Gale made absolutely no attempt to conceal his genuine frustration when addressing the media afterward. Speaking directly with NASCAR.com, he confirmed that Denny was absolutely furious with himself over the lane selection call. "I believe Denny is simply angry and genuinely wishes he had not selected the bottom lane and instead taken the top, because the dynamic is meaningfully different in an overtime situation," Gale stated plainly. He continued explaining that during these compressed 2-lap shootout scenarios, the drivers directly behind the leader frequently declined to push because they retained the option of splitting off and attempting to go 3 wide through the corners. By occupying the top lane instead, Gale explained, you would minimum force someone to commit to pushing you and maintaining that physical connection through the restart. Hamlin himself openly acknowledged that he actually saw the move developing from Larson before it fully materialized. "I have to recognize that I know Larson is going to execute that exact maneuver, and I have to ensure that if it does happen, I do absolutely everything within my power to at least allow Reddick to win the race instead," Hamlin admitted candidly. Up front, Larson actually held the lead at the white flag, but Reddick generated a monster run charging up the top side of the racetrack, sliced down to the inside of Larson through the final corner sequence, and stole the victory at the absolute last possible moment. Chase Briscoe, who had bolted on 4 completely fresh tires during the overtime pit cycle, launched from 11th position all the way forward to claim 3rd at the checkered flag. Final official finishing order: Reddick takes the victory, Larson 2nd, Briscoe 3rd, Hamlin 4th. Bubba Wallace 5th, who also simultaneously celebrated his 300th career Cup Series start on that exact afternoon.
For Reddick, this entire 2026 campaign has been nothing short of a dream season materializing in real time. He's winning at a pace that NASCAR hasn't witnessed since Dale Earnhardt back during the 1987 season. Collecting multiple victories through the opening stretch of a season is an achievement accomplished by a small handful of drivers across the entire history of this sport. Reddick also extended his points lead over Hamlin by a significant margin with a victory. And here is the storyline that makes everything even more layered and complicated. Reddick competes for 23XI Racing, the organization co-owned by both Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin himself. So Hamlin effectively lost the race to his very own driver and his very own team. Jordan was absolutely ecstatic on pit road following the finish. Hamlin was operating on an entirely different emotional frequency. Reddick was remarkably candid about just how genuinely chaotic that overtime restart sequence felt from inside the car. "I never enjoy being positioned on the inside lane during those situations. I genuinely feel terrible for Christopher Bell with what happened to him in that moment. That was hard, clean racing throughout. The 11 came up on me and I found myself running tight. I'm not thrilled that I made contact with Christopher in those final laps," Reddick acknowledged. "These late race restarts become absolutely unpredictable and wild. I was honestly shocked that I was able to get my nose to the inside of the 5 car when the opportunity appeared." Now, let's address what genuinely been haunting Denny Hamlin, because this particular loss stings on a deeply personal level. Overtime finishes have extracted an enormous price from him across the past few seasons. The 2024 Nashville race remains the one that lives most vividly in NASCAR fans' memory, where he commanded the lead at the scheduled race distance, only to surrender everything during the additional laps. And now, Kansas 2026 joins that already painful and growing list of near misses. As Hamlin himself expressed just the previous week, his team has now discovered somewhere between 10 and 12 completely different methods of failing to win at this particular facility. The frustration is clearly accumulating. And while Hamlin was processing all of that disappointment Sunday, his ongoing public feud with Kyle Busch was simultaneously getting considerably louder throughout the weekend. The situation originated earlier in the week on Denny's Actions Detrimental podcast. Following another genuinely difficult weekend for Busch at Bristol, Hamlin stated on air that Busch has been experiencing a steady decline across 5 full seasons and may never realistically return to victory lane without something truly significant changing within his situation. Hamlin attempted to frame his assessment with appropriate respect for his former teammate. "This is simply my personal opinion, and I absolutely cannot hold a helmet to Kyle Busch when discussing raw driving talent. But I genuinely believe this situation is not new or recent. He's been struggling for 5 full years now, so we simply have to be completely honest with ourselves about what our realistic expectations should be," Hamlin stated. Busch did not receive those words with any degree of appreciation whatsoever. Arriving at Kansas on Saturday, he responded with considerable force and directness. "If Denny genuinely wants to exchange cars, I will swap equipment with him absolutely any day of the week at any time he chooses. I would sincerely love the opportunity to watch him demonstrate that he can manage it better than I am currently," Busch fired back without hesitation. He continued by stating he doesn't believe Denny Hamlin has any real idea what he is actually discussing, adding that Hamlin can criticize him freely, while he can certainly return the favor by making Hamlin's life considerably more difficult on the racetrack. Busch had already been deploying the word bonehead repeatedly throughout the week, initially directed squarely at Riley Herbst following their physical confrontation at Bristol. "You simply keep allowing yourself to get run over, and I am absolutely not someone who accepts that treatment," Busch stated. But with his pointed warning directed towards Hamlin now circulating everywhere, those bonehead references suddenly felt like they were aimed at a new target. Hamlin immediately responded on social media with his own rebuttal. "Not entirely sure what I'm supposed to do in this situation. I host a weekly podcast, and I am required to address questions about relevant and timely topics. Should I simply respond by saying I have no idea and everything appears completely fine to me? I'm genuinely uncertain where he concluded that I was attacking him. I'm navigating an incredibly tight tightrope in this role," Hamlin posted directly on X for his followers to see. Then, appearing on the Fox Sports pre-race broadcast, Hamlin noticeably softened his overall tone and offered what felt like genuine heartfelt respect for his former